Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you to this webinar. My name is Karim Bazabachi. I'll be the organizer for this session, and with me is three of our presenters, Lorraine Moy, Khedi Buata, and Richard Bailey. Please make sure you have a stable internet connection, but don't worry, if you happen to get disconnected, you can log on the same way you did, and everything will still be fine. There will also be a recording on the LMS system in case you've missed anything, and that recording will be available from 12 o'clock today. The duration of this session will be a maximum of 25 minutes, and we will answer questions towards the end of the session, ending off at exactly 7:30. All right, that's it from my side. For now, I'd like to hand over to our first presenter, Lorraine. Lorraine, are you there?
Hello, Karim, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's Tech Talk. We'll be discussing the heat pump non-compliance, but before we get into it, obviously the spread of COVID and preventing it is everybody's responsibility. And ways so that we need to combat the spread of COVID is obviously wearing our mask in public, covering our nose and mouth, washing our hands, avoid touching our eyes, nose and mouth with unwashed hands, avoid close contact with people, whether you're sick or not sick, covering your cough and sneeze, and always make sure that you clean and disinfect areas in your hands frequently. Kheri, over to you.
Good morning. Thank you, Lorraine, and good morning to everybody out there. And thank you very much for taking the time out to be with us today. And hopefully we will give you some information that will help you improve the way that you do things going forward. And with that, also introducing Richard. Richard, good morning. Please share a word.
Hi, how's it, guys? Hi, Lorraine. Hi, Kheri. Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. And yeah, we're here ready to go. I'm gonna, I reckon, just be answering, getting feedback in the background, and if I need to jump in, if my ugly mug is needed, I'll jump in quickly. No problem.
Sure. Please, between yourself and Lorraine, feel free to jump in wherever you feel you want to add something. So I think without further ado, let's get going on what we are here about today. So let's move on to the next one. Right. So it is about, as Lorraine said, the non-compliance notice that we have developed for heat pump systems, because we felt that, seeing that we've got something for 10254, which is the electrical geyser, we've created one for the solar, and now this one is for the heat pump systems. And once again, it's a guide to you guys as installers, as plumbers, and also I think it'll make life easier when you need to discuss the non-compliance points with a client. And this document you can obviously use when you do, for instance, repairs or a geyser replacement on a heat pump system to point out non-compliances. So let's get to what this is about. I mean, if we look at the SENS Codes, SENS Codes applicable to heat pump installations, SENS 1352, which is the installation, maintenance, replacement and repair of domestic or air source water heating heat pump systems. That's quite a mouthful, but yeah, it's about heat pump installations. 10254 we all know about. 10252, the water supply and drainage for buildings. And then SENS 151. Important to keep that in mind is also the SENS code regarding the storage water heater or the geyser. And then obviously in this instance, I think even more prevalent, 10142, the wiring of premises for low voltage installations. So what does SENS 1352 say? In clause 9.1, it says a PIRB, plumbing certificate of compliance, shall be issued for the installation, replacement or repair of any plumbing works inspected or work has been carried out on hot water reticulation system, which includes the installation of a heat pump unit for hot water heating purposes. So this is what this is all about, based on. It's not personal opinions, it's what the regulation requires. And that's why we thought let's do what we do. So as far as non-compliance is concerned, the 1352 also says in the maintenance, repair and replacement section under clause 4.3.1.3, the water heater and its auxiliary components shall be maintained, replaced, or repaired to comply with this standard, and any non-compliance shall be reported by the person who carries out the maintenance, replacement, or repair to the owner in writing. And you will obviously immediately realize it is exactly the same as what is denoted in SENS 10254, as well as 10.10.6 regarding solar. And that's why we thought this is it would be very helpful to do a non-compliance notice that is available for you guys out there, just to make life a bit easier. Please also note that only pre-existing non-compliances may be reported. In other words, if you do a new heat pump installation, you cannot now go and note non-compliances on that new installation. And as I said earlier, this is more applicable to where you need to go and do maintenance or repair or replacement of a geyser tank on a system like this. Richard, I don't know if you want to add something there, or even Lorraine.
Gerrie, I think it's the same sort of just what we call it, a caveat, as we mentioned last week with regards to the solar systems. You know, often as plumbers we get to site and it's impossible for us to comply because of the design of the building. Let's say, you know, the building's up. We've been asked to install a heat pump system, and I can't comply for whatever reason. Because it's a badly designed building that didn't take into account distances or whatever the case may be. So now you're stuck. It's a new system, so I cannot do a non-compliance notice. So what do? The bottom line is that you've got to get the responsible people to take that responsibility. And you say to them, well, look, I can't make it compliant, so I have to make do with a rational design, and you must issue or give me a rational design which I can install to, and then I can say on the COC that I've installed it according to the rational design from an engineer, and essentially it removes all responsibility from the plumber's shoulders onto the engineer's shoulders and the architect's shoulders, the designer. But this sort of communication, if it gets to that point, it's often because there's no communication with a plumbing professional at the design phase, and they think they're clever and they design the whole thing, and then right at the end they say, okay, this is the plan, come and install, and you say no, but it doesn't work, you know. So that's often the problem. Gerrie, sorry, I am finding a little bit more of the last year or two perhaps that a lot of plumbers are speaking to me about designs of places because the designers are speaking to them before, which is a good sign. So I think the guys are starting to take note. It's up to us, you know, it's up to us to drive that as well. Make sure that we're all aware of that.
Yes, Richard, I agree. I must say I've also been contacted by quite a number of even architects and engineers in this field, because I think there's an awareness by the public now that there is a need for those professionals to also engage with a plumber and a qualified person to guide them and to, you know, give them pointers regarding these type of things. So yes, definitely in the instance where, as you said, where it is impossible, whole different ballgame. But I think what is important then is on the quoting stage already, that you need to mention this to the client, to say this is what we can do within the space or the outlay of the property, and this is what needs to happen. So I think, you know, for starters, and thank you for that information, Richard, it's important that you, if there's a problem and you foresee a problem, that you mention that and get that out of the way before you even start doing quoting, installation, that type of thing. Right, so let's see what's next. So who may or can issue a COC for a plumbing heat pump installation? Only a licensed heat pump installer, which means it's a person that is a qualified heat pump installer and is registered with PIRB. A person not even a qualified heat pump installer that is not registered with PIRB may and cannot issue a COC, as we saw before, is written in the standard. That's what it says. It's not what we are saying, that's what the regulation is saying. So the bottom line is this: do not work on a geyser which is connected to a heat pump system if you are not qualified and registered, because you will not be able to issue a COC. And irrespective of what this standard says, in 10254, it is clear that once you work on a water heating system, you need to issue a COC. So a lot of people say, yeah, but I only replaced the geyser. But the moment it's connected to a heat pump, it is a heat pump system. And for that purpose, you need to be a qualified heat pump and licensed heat pump installer. So please remember that. Do not work on a system where you do not have the qualification or the registration for. Right, so any questions at this point in time? Richard, anything, Lorraine, anything you guys want to add to what we have done so far?
I'd like to just say something if Lorraine doesn't. Lorraine, are you wanting to jump in?
No, you can go first, Richard.
So I just want to reiterate what you've just said, Gerrie, and just bring a different perspective with regards to the wall and listening to the last 3 minutes of what you're saying. I'm saying to myself, as a fly on the wall, I'm saying, yes, but this is who gives, who says I can't do this, and this is exclusionary, and I'm good at what I do, and who says I can't work on a geyser that's connected to a heat pump? This is nonsense. The fact of the matter, ladies and gentlemen, is that the standards are written with consumer safety in mind, first and foremost. Consumer safety, then effectiveness of the system and performance and if, all these good things, energy conservation and all these good things. But safety of the heart of the matter is the safety of the consumer and their well-being. Now, part of the heart of the meaning of these standards is to say to us, when you work on a system, you must bring it up to standard. This current standard, when the system has been lying dormant or been working for 10 or 15 years and no plumber has looked at it, and you're the first plumber in 10 or 15 years to look at it, you can't just leave it like it is. You've got to bring it up to scratch. Now, if it's a heat pump system, it means you've got to know what that means. You've got to know what the heat pump system is how it functions, why it's there, what the maximum distances are, how the machine functions, so what it needs, where is the strainer, is it in the right place, is it accessible, you know the reasons for it. If it's not there, you know what is the problem. All this information has to be on your fingertips when you service a system that is part of a heat pump system. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is, because if you don't know that, you are doing that client a disservice. So this isn't about controlling the marketplace, people, because there's a rhetoric out there and there's a mindset out there that says, oh, it's just so that they can control it. It's not. It's to protect the consumer. You've got to make sure that you know your stuff when you get to site. And if it is connected to a heat pump system, regardless if you're changing a vacuum breaker or not, you have got to take responsibility for that entire system. It's a must, and therefore this requirement in the regulation.
Yes, Richard, if I can maybe just connect to that, and I think that comes back to the one thing that I think is important that people need to understand is all of this reverts back to the Water Services Act as amended. And in clause 16 of that Water Services Act, it says clear, reporting of non-compliances. A water services institution must have a consumer service to which non-compliances with these regulations can be reported. So it's not anybody wanting to do something or to force something down. It is part of the national legislation. So that's where this comes from. It's not personal opinion and this, that, and the other. So we need to just get that clear, get that out of the way. Karim, I see there's a couple of questions there. Can we address those ones quickly?
Yes, 100%. So the first question is, What about a commercial heat pump installation regarding a COC?
Richard, you want to take that one? I think you...
Those big heat pump installations are usually subject to a design by an engineer or a water engineer at the least, very least. Certainly the manufacturers and suppliers of, well, manufacturers of those systems will get involved in the design. So very, very often, 99% of the time, if you're talking about systems that size, you're working to a design. As a plumber, you're going to want to look for stuff, and you must revert back to what you are capable and allowed to be doing. You need to be looking at the standards as we know them and spotting any indiscrepancies. So ask the correct questions. Well, hey, where's this thing go to? Where's the TPE discharge? We can't just put it there. So stick to your guns and let the engineers do the engineering design. So anything above, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, 450 liter, anything above 450 liter in terms of storage, we cannot in any event as plumbers design that system, whether or not it's just a geyser or a heat pump, or if it's a solar bank of solars, it doesn't matter. We cannot be responsible for the design of that system. We've got to revert to a design by a professional engineer or a water services engineer in any event. And usually those systems are bigger than 450, because I mean, if you're talking about commercials, you've got just sort of usually low pressure storage tank as heat sinks, and you've got heat exchanger coils in there, and that's your actual potable water. So there's many different designs, and pretty much every single time it's on the back of an engineer's design. So I hope that answers the question. I'm not sure if that was what was being asked.
Richard, yeah, I agree, and I think 100% there. We've got to stick with what we know and what we are capable of doing. And once there's, as Richard said, if there's a rational design being done by an engineer, then that person is the person that needs to look at all of these things. And there's nothing wrong with him engaging still with a plumber regarding certain aspects. But the professional person or the person that designed the system, that is the person that then needs to take over in this regard and do what needs to be done. Yeah. All right, the next one there, Karim.
Next one, if I'm a licensed plumber but haven't done a heat pump training and a client wants a heat pump, what are the correct steps to follow?
So in my opinion, the honorable thing to do here is to say or to tell the client that I do not have the knowledge or the qualification to do a heat pump installation. And then, you know, we also got to be, let me call it neighborly, and maybe refer that client to the ALPSA website, for instance, where we've got a find a plumber function, where a person can go and search for a plumber specifically qualified to do this. And also on PIRB website. So, you know, and in a lot of instances, you would know most probably a person in your area that do heat pumps. So, you know, maybe that's the neighborly thing to do. Well, at least is the right thing to do is to refer that person to a person that is qualified and can do what needs to be done, and obviously issue a COC.
Of course, Kerry, the alternative to that is to jump onto a heat pump course. You know, these days on the LMS system, they are not as time consuming as they used to be, because you do it at your own pace. You can do the whole thing in a day if you like, or it can take you, you know, 15 minutes a day for 6 weeks. It's up to you. And jump on there, do the course, and get your qualification. The process is not as tedious as you would think. So that's the alternative, of course.
All right. So yes, obviously the thing is, I think time will determine what needs to happen there. Sorry. So if it's an urgent thing, something that is time constrained or that's connected to a time constraint, then obviously refer. But yes, there's nothing wrong with you getting into that zone in any case, to promote yourself, to improve yourself, to get more knowledge and to get better qualifications. Go for the heat pump training, go for the solar training, register with PIRB, and then you're all clear. Then you can go. I see there's a couple of others there, Karim.
Yes, so just regarding the first question that was asked, but why is a PIRB COC not required for a commercial heat pump?
That's because it is required from a plumbing perspective. So the COC will not reflect. Okay, let me put it this way. Let's just try and draw a line between the responsibility of the plumber on a domestic system and a commercial system. So on a domestic system, that plumber is not only the chief designer, but he's also the installer, and he's taken responsibility and given all the advice to the homeowner in order to design a system that will work for that home. So he's taken all that on board. Whereas in a commercial system, the engineer takes all the design responsibility on his board. So that means performance design as well, whether or not it's going to deliver enough hot water at the right times, etc. That's the sort of design function that the engineer takes on board, as well as the reticulation of the pipe work. So often he'll do a pipe layout as well. What the plumber will still do when he signs that COC, he will call it a heat pump system, but he'll on his comments he'll say as per rational design. So it absolves him of the design of the thing. What it doesn't absolve him from is whether or not his Conex nut is leaking. You know what I'm saying? Or one of the waste pipes has got a backfill from an overflow somewhere. That is still basic plumbing fundamentals which you need to certify. So in as much as the design of the heat pump installation has been taken off your shoulders, you are still responsible for the plumbing and the implementation of that design. So if something does go wrong, well, is it a design fault or is it a plumbing fault? So the COC, I wouldn't say is not necessary. It is necessary. You do need to issue it. You're just not taking responsibility for the design of the thing and the performance of the thing.
Right, Richard. I'm just looking at the one. I see there's one or two other questions. If you want to address those quickly, while I'm getting ready to share the actual document.
All right, I'll read it out. I see there is another question that just came in. So there's two questions. The first one is regarding the plumber search. So I'm a licensed plumber and registered with PIRB and IOPSA, but our name does not come up on the plumber search. What can I do?
Answer that one. In terms of PIRB, please contact the marketing department, so marketing@pirb.co.za. And in terms of IOPSA, contact marketing@iopsa.org and just tell them your problem.
Okay, thank you.
Right, can you guys see the actual notification there?
Yes, we can.
So I think, Richard, if you don't mind, I think let's move on to this part of this presentation so that we can just give the guys basically what it's going to look like. So guys, this is the document that we developed. It obviously still needs to be cleaned up nicely and made more presentable. So this is the document similar to the previous ones that we dealt with in the previous weeks. So once again, the document will be available on the IOPSA shop, hopefully in the first week of September, for you guys to download and use. And you will see, similar to that, it does not replace a COC. It's only a supplementary document regarding non-compliances. And yeah, once again, referring to the plumber, the client name, the COC, and then again, the safety classification, red for critical safety, blue for the terms and conditions of manufacturer warranties, insurance claims, and so forth, and then green for awareness and comfort. And I think in this instance, you will also see there is an NC or a NCR, and that's in this column here where you need to tick. So NC is for non-compliance, and an NCR is for non-compliant to recommended practice, because there are some recommended practices that is preferable above others, and in this instance specifically the size of the system and or the geyser in in comparison with the heat pump unit. And yeah, if we just have a look here at 1.1, obviously a red indication. The heat pump unit, is the unit compliant? Is it IPX4 rated in this instance? And also SENS 151 for integrated unit and or a geyser connected to the system. And yeah, so we can go through the document. I'm not going to go through in detail now, but once it's available, please use this document, print it out, and use it as a reference point for your installers. And also, where you get to a repair or a maintenance situation, you can use this to list the non-compliances so that the client is aware and you have done what is expected of you as a plumber. Richard, Lorraine, I don't know if you want to add something else there.
Lorraine, I'm waiting for you to jump in.
Just wanted to add that, you know, all these documents were created just to make your life easier. At the end of the day, you know, when I am conducting audits and guys are asking, you know, can this be compressed in a document? And we heard your calls, and hence why we took the time to create all these documents. Obviously, they'll be published the first week of September in a different format, but at the end of the day, the information will be the same. And we really just want to make people's lives easier, and we also want to make sure that the consumer is informed in a manner that they do understand.
Yeah, and so like Gerrie and Lorraine said, it's a small little chap that you can take with you to site. You can even have it laminated and just carry it, have it in your bucket. You can also have a couple of copies printed out if you like, and boom, that's it. It's a very comprehensive little reference, quick reference document. You know, so my can I go here, Gerrie? You know, I'm a sucker for punishment, aren't I? Because I always tell myself, you know. But anyway, this morning I had completely forgotten about this tech talk, and then I get a phone call at 6:45 saying, "Hey, about the tech talk." But I'm thinking about it last night. So often things slip out of your mind, but if it's presented to you, then you remember all of a sudden, and all that stuff comes flooding back. So if you've got a list of non-compliances in front of you, it'll jog your memory to some things that you might or might not have picked up on your own. And that's the value of a little document like this, is to have it in front of you. You can, by the third or fourth time you've used it, you kind of know what's on it, and you kind of say, I know that this is supposed to be, and I don't usually, but now I am. And that's the value of it. So yeah, I would laminate it, put it in my bucket, and use it as a quick reference guide, man.
Definitely, Richard. I think that's one of the most important parts of having a document like this. I mean, we must also all realize, if we look at a plumber nowadays, there are so many things that you need to remember and so many aspects in the different SENS codes. And it's impossible for you to remember everything as you go. That person still needs to get born. You know, there's a lot of people, myself, been in the industry for a long, long time, dealt with SENS codes all my life. However, you cannot remember everything. So, you know, to use this type of document as a reference point will just make life easier for you. It also helps as a reminder, and also for your installers. Give it to them so that they can check when they do this installation. Step back 5 minutes, just run through it quickly, make sure that everything that they see, does it comply, does it not comply, and then they can address these issues. Karim, I see there's another question or two.
Yes. Okay, so we'll just take one more question for today. The last question is, if I did the heat pump and solar course before, but I've not done my tests, can I review the courses and do the tests?
Richard, maybe we should give that one to you. I think you're more in the loop there.
As far as I understand it, Gerrie, I don't know of a time limit on like if you did if I'm reading the correct one, Karim, it's the one that's in all caps, the bottom one there, hey? So,
no, it's the one in the chat tab.
Oh, sorry, no, okay. So I'm reading the one in the Q&A. Here.
But I think it's more or less the same type of question, Richard.
Okay, yeah, if I've not done my test, can I review the course and do the test? Yes, you can, because you've done a course, and what you have with having completed the course, you've got a certificate of completion. You've got whoever the course is, whoever presented the course, whether it be Quickot, whether it be Watersmith at the time, whether it be AN other, you could you could take that certificate and approach IOPSA and say, IOPSA, I'd like to sit and write the assessment test to become a licensed, at least a qualified heat pump installer, please. And you book a time. It's an open book test. You should have your standards next to you. You can do it in the comfort of your home. It's open book. It's about an hour long. And I think it's about 40 questions. It's not an easy test. So you need your books. But yes, the answer is you open book, you book your spot, and you go and write it, and Bob's your uncle. You just have to show that you have done the course by means of a certificate or something, and then you're done, 100%.
Yeah, so I think the important thing there, especially, sorry, Lorraine, especially with people that's got the qualification for quite a time, is to just go back to the SENS code, get the latest SENS code relating to that specific topic, get yourself up to date on that, and use that, because that is what will be in your test. Is they will refer to the latest SENS code and or bylaws connected to that specific activity. Sorry, Lorraine.
I want to add one thing. Remember, if you do the OPSA exam, you get the designation with the professional body. You wouldn't have the qualification for the heat pump
but to
course.
be able to do that test, you have to have some sort of a certificate of competence in a specific specialization field.
Yes, I understand. But I just want to just clarify that you get the designation with the professional body.
Yes. Yeah, and you are then, once you've done that, you can then register with PIRB as a specialization designation on your registration information.
Yeah, so what Lorraine's saying, she's correcting me, because I mistakenly used the word qualification, which is not the case. You are already qualified. All the exam does through IOPSA is to allow you to be designated through the professional body as a heat pump designated installer. Sorry, Lorraine, you're quite right.
Yeah, and that also then obviously allows you to get access, especially on the electronic system, to issue a COC for that type of installation.
Thank you very much. I believe that's all the questions. We do have some positive feedback as well. Thank you for the informative session. Very well done. Is there anything you'd like to add before I end off? Let's start with you, Gerrie, and then Lorraine, and then Richard.
Karim, once again, thank you for yourself for helping us and assisting us in this process early in the morning. And once again, thank you very much for everybody that joined us, that took the time out to be here and to get information. And the last message from me is to say, stay safe, please do the right thing, protect yourself, protect your consumer, and let's get going. Richard? Lorraine, sorry.
From my side, I just want to say thank you to everybody for attending today's session. And I just wanted to highlight something that we didn't touch on, is that should you install if you work on a heat pump installation and you're audited and you don't have a designation, there will be repercussions with the professional body. So please keep that in mind. And as we had alluded earlier, it's not an erroneous, sorry, I lost my train of thought. It's not an erroneous process now to get the designation. So everybody out there, get the designations for both solar and heat pump. Enjoy the rest of your week and take care of yourselves.
Yeah, likewise. Ditto to Gerrie and ditto to Lorraine. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you shortly. Yeah?
Thank you very much. And just a reminder, there will be a recording on the LMS system by 12 o'clock today. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and end the session now.
Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.